John Smith is upriver, deep in Indian territory. While he's asleep, he meets with an unfortunate accident. The gunpowder that Smith keeps with him explodes. Amazingly, though seriously wounded and without medical care, he survives. And he suspects foul play.
Someone fired his powder bag, which tore the flesh from his body and thighs, 9 or 10 inches square, in a most pitiful manner.
Some experts think this accident calls for a closer look.
A powder flask blew up, either accidentally or on purpose. He seems to be pretty astute with the weapons, though why it would suddenly blow up on him.
Could this be the New World's first attempted political assassination? If it's meant to get rid of John Smith, it does the job. Smith is so badly wounded, he has to step down. His replacement, George Percy, can't help gloating.
Smith, being an ambitious, unworthy, and vainglorious fellow, was justly deprived of all. The place of government being void, I accepted thereof.
After 2 turbulent years in America, Smith heads home to nurse his wounds. He will return to America 5 years later to promote his latest scheme, a colony he calls New England. Smith's departure and a harsh winter send a chill through the settlers left to survive at the fort. Relations with the Indians grow icy as well. The English build settlements in defiance of Powhatan's wishes. The chief orders his warriors to kill anyone who sets foot outside of Jamestown's walls.
Must be something here.
Trading with the Indians for supplies is over, and leaving the fort is suicidal. Trapped and running out of food, 500 settlers see no way out.
Now all of us at Jamestown, beginning to feel that sharp prick of hunger, which no man truly describe, but he which has tasted the bitterness thereof. A world of miseries ensued.
When Kelso's team probes a deep pit dating back to that winter, they find grim evidence why the settlers called it the starving time.
This bone's been chopped up. You can see it actually has some cut marks on it. The way it's been splintered is evidence of, the butchering of some sort of animal.
Evidence the settlers are reduced to eating their dogs and horses. The cats are next to go, leaving the rats.
We found things like a black rat, which is the carrier of the Black Plague, and these were being eaten. There's poisonous snakes. We got the bones of snake vertebrae. There's a special barb on the vertebrae of a poisonous snake. That wouldn't be normal cuisine on the menu unless you're real desperate.
The threat of imminent starvation now pushes some over the edge. According to this account by George Percy,
Nothing was spared to maintain life and do these things which seem incredible, as to dig up dead corpses out of graves and eat them.
one deranged settler named Collins is tried by Percy for killing, assaulting, and eating his wife. For this culinary crime, he is tortured and put to death. And one account says all he left was his wife's head, but you may find that a little hard to swallow. Because the Indians are also ravaged by starvation, their siege of Jamestown peters out. But that brings the settlers no relief. They have fallen victim to an even more relentless enemy. To identify it, Bill Kelso's colleague, Dennis Blanton, looks beyond old documents to consult an actual witness, a survivor of that terrible winter.
This tree is at least 600 years old, actually a little more, so it includes the years 1606 to 1612. And if you examine the tree, you can see the rings very clearly in the section. You see the rings become thinner, dramatically thinner, which indicates well below average precipitation.
How bad is it in 1609? The tree ring data reveals that the region is suffering its worst drought in 700 years.
This Indian leader came to the settlement on the island and spoke to the English. And he begged them to pray to your gods for rain, because we've prayed to our gods and we're not getting results. Surely your God is more powerful. We see your boats and weapons. That tells us that you might have more influence than we do.
Archaeologists find the graves of those who died in the starving time underscore the written accounts of all-out panic.
There are several burials that appear to be rather hasty in nature. They're not very deep. The graves aren't necessarily long enough for the occupant. One grave shack contained 3 people. These sorts of things suggest that there were a lot of people dying at times when it was difficult to carry out a proper burial.
Now the only hope for the desperate settlement lies in outside help. Unaware of the dire plight at Jamestown, a fleet of ships is already on its way from England with more settlers and supplies. William Strachey, an aspiring playwright on one of the ships, keeps an eyewitness account of a crossing gone wrong.
Winds and seas were as mad as fury and rage could make them. For 24 hours, the storm in a restless tumult had blown so exceedingly as we could not apprehend in our imaginations any possibility of greater violence.
7 of the 9 ships make it to Jamestown, but most of their food and supplies are lost or ruined in the storm. They arrive with 400 more settlers, 400 more mouths to feed. Now they're in even worse shape than they were before. 2 of the 9 ships never make it. One of them, the flagship, with Strachey aboard. Now, like Strachey, the settlers at Jamestown are marooned, their dreams in tatters. But after almost 3 years fighting against all odds, for Jamestown, fate is about to take another unexpected twist.